Hi everyone, welcome to my very first ever YouTube video. And this is my very first ever lathe. I just bought it a couple months ago. It popped up on eBay for local delivery, so I snatched it up. It's a Craftsman, and I'm kind of partial to Craftsman tools. I have an unhealthy obsession with Craftsman wrenches and ratchets. The guy that I bought this from lost the box of parts that come with it, or not parts but accessories. So it came with a 3-jaw chuck, came with a Jacobs chuck, and some kind of weird turret tool holder. And so everything else I bought after the fact. Notice this does not have a quick change gearbox, so every time you want to change spindle speeds you have to rebuild the transmission. That's a lot of fun. So anyway, one of the things I bought was a 4-jaw chuck, and it came with 3 jaws and one hot piece of garbage. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make one of these chuck jaws out of a chunk of steel. All we got to do is cut it out, right? Okay, let's go to it. Alright, first thing we got to do is square it up. Here we go. Okay, I've got my block all squared up. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is cut this radius right here, and I'm pretty sure it's a 1/2 inch. There, good and tight. Now I have to figure out which way to mount this in here. I'd like to swing this around. Oh, can't see what I'm talking about there, can you? Okay. I'd like to swing this milling attachment around so I could mount it in this way and come across it like that. Trouble is, when you swing this around that way, you have to run the cross feed so far back that you run off the end of the threads. So I can swing it the other way, and then you can't see what you're doing. So I'm going to have to mount it pretty much this way and mill straight into it. And it's already squared up this way anyhow. So I just need to put a space behind it because I don't want to drill a hole in the back side of my milling attachment vise here. So I'll see if I can get that set up, and I'll get back. Okay, I've got a parallel in here behind it to give me that space that I need so I don't drill a hole in my vise. I'm not sure if I've got my feed going the right way. We'll give it a shot. I've got the feed on the slowest it'll go. I'm running at about 500 RPM. But we're going the right way. Let's see what happens. Let's lock down. Lock down. I'm just going to take a small nibble at it. get a blast in there. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's check the depth. So we did overshoot it just a little bit. 1,000th or two. But I think that's good enough for government work. Used to work for the government, by the way. Okay. I might go ahead and swap these out. If you can look here, I don't know if you can see that. There's a deeper portion right here with no threads at each end, and the diameter of that is 5/8. So I might just, while this is still set up in there, should be the same center line as our 1/2 inch, so I don't have to move anything else. I might just swap that out for a 5/8. As long as that's in there, at least do one end. I'm not going to go all the way to the end because I'm not sure exactly where these threads are going to come out from front to back. I mean, it doesn't really matter. If this was a 3-jaw chuck with a spiral, that would make a difference. Of course, we'd be cutting a completely different thread here, but since this is a 4-jaw chuck with 4 independent jaws, exactly where this thread is centered in there doesn't really matter. So I'm going to put in the 5/8 end mill and make that relief cut on at least one end. Well, after spending a while grinding, that's what I've come up with, and it turned out just a little bit too skinny, so I might have to make some adjustments when I cut it. We'll give it a try. It might break the first time it touches the part, so it only has to work once. So there it is, mounted in the boring bar. Doesn't look like much, does it? Hope it doesn't break. Not much sticking out there. But before we go mounting that, we've got a few things to do on the lathe over here. Excuse me. Since this does not have a quick change gearbox, I've got to change a few gears over here in order to get this thing to cut 8 threads per inch. I've got to take off most of those and put a couple back on, and we got a drawer full of gears here to choose from. Okay, there's the gear setup for 8 threads per inch. Checked everything. I know, don't run it with the covers off. But there we go. We're in back gear, set for, we're running at 33 RPM, and the carriage should move 1 inch for every 8 revolutions of the spindle. And I measured it, I counted it, and it seems to be running the way it's supposed to. So we'll give it a shot. Time to mount the boring bar in the spindle. Because I can't take that part and spin it around a stationary boring bar, I'm going to revolve the boring bar inside the stationary part. That's moving along at 1 inch for every 8 revolutions of the spindle. If I did everything right. So let's get it mounted. I'll do that off camera. Alright, here goes nothing. I've got it, I've got a space back here behind it because that's where we have to start. I've got this set the depth so that it's just touching the edge. In fact, I ran it straight across and it made a little scratch in it. That's a good thing. Got it set up for 8 threads per inch. I got a dial indicator over here set for 0, and this is actually the depth of this thread is not quite even 50 thousandths. So that little tooth on there has to hold on for a couple of passes on this thing. I'm going to take it real slow. I got it all lubed up because this is high-speed steel and not carbide. So I'm worried about chatter problems with this because this is sticking way out here. This is sticking way out here, so we're just going to take little tiny nibbles at it because this thing scares crap out of me sometimes. So let's see what we've got. Kind of make a scratch cut here. That runs into it right there. I have a feeling we're gonna take the okay. Here goes nothing. Fingers crossed. Whoa, something just jumped there. Okay, well, as number one rolls around, we're going to engage it and see what happens. There's the one. Oh, look at that thing move. That's terrible. Are my gibs not tight? I don't think my gibs are tight. Well, at least get us a picture of what we're doing there. Okay, that's 8 threads per inch. And that looked horrible. We're going to tighten down some gibs. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on there off camera, and I will be back. Well, I got the gib screws tightened down almost to the point where I can't move it anymore, but it still jumps around a little. I tried taking one more pass at it. I am taking little nibbles out of my vice jaws. That's why I put the aluminum ones in there. And it is cutting something that looks like a thread, so I'm just going to take little passes at it. My bit seems to be holding up. It's a miracle. And I'm going to move it in just another 3/1000ths maybe. Tighten down that gib screw and give it another shot. Next time my number rolls around here. There it is. Not quite as violent. It's not pretty, but it's working. And you can see we are getting something that looks like a thread there. If I can get this thing stopped with that little tooth sticking out in this direction, I can run it back without having to back off the cross feed. Just run it right back here without it touching anything. Go for another 2 or 3/1000ths. I wish I could take that out of there by the way that jumps down there at the end, but I mean, I can't move it. But that little tooth sure seems to be able to move it. Let's put some more juice on there. Hopefully my little tooth holds out. It seems to be. Okay, there we go. Looks like it's lifting up the whole saddle over on this side. Okay. Like I said, I'm new to this game, and I just learned another lesson here. And on that last pass, all of a sudden everything locked up there at the end of the pass and I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. Bottom line is, this is what happens when you suck a paper towel up into your lead screw and it gets all tangled up with your half nut. It locks up your whole lathe. So keep your area clean, I guess. There. Can you see that? No, you can't. That fits right on in there, just like it's supposed to. All the way down to the hilt, down to the bottom of the threads. Perfect. All right, finally. That was painful, but I'm happy the way it turned out. Okay, right here, we're going to cut these relief angles right here. This one and this one. It's not really an angle, but anyway, these are slanted about 3.5 degrees that way, which is the angle of the thread, which that makes sense. And they're also slanted up this way, about 4 degrees. I don't think that's a critical angle for anything. It doesn't engage with anything or touch anything, so I think it's just to make clearance. Both ends are about the same, about 3.5 this way, about 4 this way. So what I've gone ahead and done is I put a 45 thousandths wire under the end of this jaw here, and that brings it about 3.5 degrees. Like I said, that angle's not that critical. And then I've turned around the y-axis here. Let's focus on that. Actually, I had to use a mirror on the other side because it runs off the scale. I've tilted this about 3.5 degrees, and that should give us the angle going that way. So there we go. That should give us this angle this way. So let me put the 5/8 mil in the collet here, and we'll go ahead and hit it. Okay, one more pass ought to do it. Bring this up just a little bit more. I think that's going to be good. Bring it right up to the side of that thread. And that's that. Okay, we're there. Okay, always something. It went real good off camera. That's what happens when you start looking. Alright, in order to cut this groove, I've got my part set up in there. I adjusted it vertically by actually clamping this part in there and moving it up and down until the 1/4-inch end mill fit in the slot. I locked it in place. I've got my Z-axis set back to 0. I've got my dial indicator down here because it's just touching the part right now. I've got that zeroed out, set to 0. And I'm just going to bring it in of maybe 1/1000th and just make I guess you could call it a scratch pass across there, just to see if everything's working out right. And this is a high-speed steel end mill and not a carbide, so we'll use lots of juice on it. Okay. Okay, and let's engage the cross feed. Let's see what we got. Keep our fingers crossed. That made a nice clean pass across there. Oops, sorry about that. Made a nice clean pass. I'm happy with that. Now we've got to go 135 thousandths deep, so it may take a while. Okay, let's run it back here and take another measurement. It should read 134, we'll see. And then I'm showing 135.5. I'm going to pull that out of there and turn it around and do it again. One down, one to go. Okay, good news. I got the slot cut in the other side, and look at this. It works as advertised. So all we have to do now is cut this face and this face and this face and this face and this step and this step, and I have to try to figure out, right here is a slight radius, and I have an idea maybe on how to do that. It's probably totally unconventional, but I've never done this stuff before, so I don't know what's right and what's wrong. Okay, I've been racking my brain on how to cut this arc in here. It's not much of an arc, but it's an arc. And after laying awake at night, this is what I came up with. I have loosened the two screws that secure the rotation of the vise. They're just a little bit loose, and I lubed it up with some whey oil. I've clamped a piece of bar stock to my carriage, so everything moves with it. This other clamp here just has a piece of angle behind it to stiffen it. I was getting some flex out of it. There's a piece of threaded rod with a nut on each side to hold that secure. Runs through to the other side. Here's another piece of bar stock that I have clamped to the side of the vise, and I put some bent washers on either side of that to give it a pivot point. So when you crank this thing back and forth, or in and out, I guess, it rotates very slightly over an arc. Coming back the other way, there it goes. In fact, I even put a Post-it note in there and put a Sharpie in my chuck, and it drew that nice little arc right there. And I took that arc and measured it, and it's about a 6-inch diameter arc. So there we go. And you can put an angle cube in here. There, it's showing 6 degrees that way. We'll crank it across. Sorry about the camera work here. There's the middle, there's 0, and then going back the other way. So it all works out. All I got to do is clamp my part in there and start making some chips. So here goes. Is a pretty nice looking arc in there. Perfect. I'm impressed. Gotta pat myself on the back for that one. Of course, probably doing everything wrong here. Somebody's gonna write some comments and says you should have done it this way. So, okay, now I have to bring this up and cut this next one down. Okay, there it is. Can't beat that. I think it turned out pretty good. I probably broke every shop safety rule known to man, and I'll get some comments, but it worked. Still got all my fingers. I just need to cut the 45s on the corners, and this will be done, except for heat treating. I've tried a couple different methods of getting this set up to cut those 45s, and this is not the most desirable, but it's about the only one that really works. I would like to have it turned around the other way so that I could see what I was doing, except it puts the cross feed so far back that it's off the end of the screw, trying to pick up that distance there. So this is this is just barely on the screw as it is, coming this way. So got a 1/2 inch end mill in there, and I've got it set up at a 45-degree angle, and I've got it parallel. So we're going to take a small slice off of this and see how it works. I think I'm set up at 500 RPM, actually 495. So let's give it a shot here. I think I got everything feeding in the right direction. There we go. Taking a real light pass just to see if it's even. Should be. I also could have set it up sitting at a 45-degree angle this way with the parts standing up, and then feed it with the screw on top, either up or down into it, but there's no power feed to that, so I would have to do it by hand, and I don't trust myself doing that, so that is another option though. I've got 4 of these corners to do, so maybe I'll try something different on one of the other ones. Here's the setup I used to cut this radius right here on the nose of that thing. I don't even know if you can see it. Slight radius. Came out to be a 1/2 inch diameter. Well, there it is, folks. I'm thinking for a first-time machinist, not too bad. Probably broke all the safety rules. But I think it turned out pretty good, better than I hoped. So I'm gonna do some heat treating. I do have to stamp. This one's number 4. I got to stamp a number 1 on this because that's the one that was missing. So, and then after that I'll heat treat it. I'm not sure how I'm gonna go about it. I might do an induction heat treating, or maybe I'll just use a torch. Anyway, I'll let you know. And there it is. And now I have a 4-jaw chuck with 4 jaws. And that's, I think that beats that piece of junk. Alright, we'll try this again. I got the power supply on over there again. We're going to heat it up with this and then take over with the MAP gas to get it the rest of the way. I've got my magnet hooked to the bench so it doesn't stick to it, and where'd my part go? There it is. Okay, there's the fan and the water pump. I might not have this coil the right size. I might not, maybe it needs more turns. I think my power supply doesn't quite have enough oomph. So it could be any one of a number of things, but and from what I understand, the MAP gas should get it hot enough. I've got a big pair of pliers here to grab this when we hit it with the gas, because I'm not sure if that MAP gas is going to just melt right through my safety wire here or not. It is not magnetic anymore. Let's go a little bit longer. It heats up a bit. like these pliers anyway. That's why I chose them here. Okay, there's our part in there inside the toaster oven. It's been in there for 3 hours at 375 degrees. It has cooled off to 68 degrees inside our toaster oven, so I think we can take it out. And there it is, icy cold. It's kind of changed colors a little bit, kind of has that straw color that they show when they're heat treating their knives. And oh, by the way, I don't think I showed it. I stamped the number 1 on it before I hardened it yesterday, because it was the number 1 jaw that I was missing from my 4-jaw chuck. So if we can swing this around without getting everybody seasick. There we go. There's 4-jaw chuck right there. And we can slide it in there with his friends, and that should be it. There it is. Almost the same color as the other ones. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you made it all the way through this. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm a beginner at this, so I was just winging most of it. So that's it. Thanks.